Why do authors so often choose to make a relatable protagonist? I'm not talking about a protagonist that only has a little bit you can relate to, but a lot. I don't know about you, but I'd much rather follow a character that has a new perspective to show me instead of the same one I've been used to for years. Imagine how dull Death Note would have been if Light Yagami was just an ordinary guy in high school that anyone could relate to. No insane intellect, no supreme sense of justice, and no god complex. The sheer thought of it bores me to tears, since it's Light's unrelatable qualities that make him such a captivating character in the first place. This isn't to say that I won't give relatable protagonists a chance, it's just that most of them are painfully boring when compared to their acquaintances who actually have enough personality to become someone's favorite character. This may come off as a little arrogant, but I think a lot of stories would benefit if they followed this rule of mine. Only make a relatable protagonist if their familiar perspective is necessary to properly convey the story's narrative and themes. Otherwise, make an unrelatable protagonist. For example, Kirito from Sword Art Online is a boring character, not because he's relatable, but because he being relatable serves the show no purpose other than a power trip fantasy, which I don't find to be nearly as valuable as complementing the show's narrative and themes. It comes off as lazy, bland, mundane, and just about every antonym in accordance with our Chad unrelatable protagonist, Light Yagami. However, a relatable protagonist doesn't always have to be boring. They can absolutely be just as interesting as an unrelatable one, so long as the story's narrative and themes are sculpted around them. Granted, there aren't many stories like these, but fear not. Sakura-sou will both answer the question from earlier about why authors choose to make relatable protagonists, in addition to showing us the unique experience a story can deliver when its narrative and themes require the presence of a relatable protagonist.
似たような毎日をどこか退屈だと思ってた。何も起こらないことを誰かのせいにしてた。だけど退屈なのは日々なんかじゃなく誰かと似たような自分なんだって。
When I first heard this quote in spring of 2015, I felt relief. Relief that there was someone out there, fictional or not, that shared the same melancholic thoughts just as I had a few years prior. Without even having spent another moment alone with this character, without even having known this character's name, I felt a bond, an understanding which would have taken longer to accomplish had this character not shared my same feelings from way back then. It's only recently I realized that this quick, instantaneous connection is exactly what the author of Sakura-sou and the many authors of other fictional works shoot for. They know that the quickest way to form a bond between you and their character is by revealing a part of yourself in their character. When you notice that similarity, whether it be through the character's quirks, mannerisms, or the problems they face, then you'll develop an immense desire to see said character succeed, since it'd be like seeing a part of yourself succeed. And who doesn't want that? Replicating this kind of bond between viewer and character is more difficult the more unrelatable the character is, whereas the problems relatable characters face can be instantly understood by the audience since they themselves experience the same struggles. The problems unrelatable characters face require more explanations, since the audience hasn't experienced the same struggles. These extra steps required to make an unrelatable protagonist work or would deter some authors from creating them in the first place. They instead settle down with a relatable protagonist whose perspective is much easier to write for and doesn't require a bunch more work for the audience to get invested. This isn't to say that these authors are always creating these kinds of characters out of laziness. Sakura-sou serves as an excellent example for how to make a normal, average, relatable protagonist more entertaining than what would have been a piece of cardboard. The heroine, Mashiro, has succeeded in almost everything she's put her mind to. She embodies the ideal that, I assume, most people would love to have. Despite how high up she is though, the show's message isn't you reaching her level is impossible, it's you reaching her level is possible. But how can it prove that? How can it possibly prove that you can achieve her level of success? The show can't hop into our world and lead you on the path towards reaching her level, but it can certainly bring a piece of you into its world and have that version of you go on the journey to reaching her level, showing that if a piece of yourself can succeed, then you as a whole can succeed too.
ダメだった時のことを先に考えて時間の無駄になるとか傷つくのが嫌だとかやらない理由ばっかり並べて自分で動き出すことを諦めてた。でもシーナを見ていて変わりたいって思った。俺もいつかお
Imagine the show trying to prove its point without scenes like that. It just wouldn't work. You wouldn't be convinced that someone like you could reach the same heights as Mashiro because you wouldn't be watching someone like you striving for and reaching those same heights in the show. Sakura-sou properly conveying its message is dependent upon having a relatable protagonist. The main reason for Sorata being written the way he is has nothing to do with laziness. He's relatable for a clear purpose that would have been lost in translation had he been written differently. He's a relatable protagonist done right.